So this is so exciting. More than 10,000 hours underwater under extreme conditions. His world-class work has captured the best out of our world's oceans. Incredible images that you're about to see. And he wants to share his passion with us here in San Diego. So this morning we want to welcome award-winning National Geographic explorer and photographer Brian Skerry. Good morning to you, Brian.
Good morning, Netta. Great to be here.
I mean, in all the teases that we were showing leading up to your interview, I was mesmerized by the images. You have seen some incredible things. So just talk a little bit about your career. What initially inspired you to go underwater?
Well, I grew up in Massachusetts, and I can remember as a little boy, reading National Geographic magazine, watching those old Cousteau documentaries, and dreaming about being an ocean explorer. So when I was about 15 years old, I was able to start scuba diving. I became a certified scuba diver. And initially, that's all I thought I wanted, just to explore the ocean. But maybe a year or so after that, I attended a conference, a diving show in Boston, and I saw photographers and filmmakers presenting their work about the ocean. And I often describe it as an epiphany, where I realized that's how I wanted to explore the ocean, with a camera and tell stories, film and still photos. Very lofty dream, but almost 25 years ago, I started working for National Geographic and have been able to do just that.
Wow, yeah, National Geographic, certainly the most elite when it comes to this kind of photography of wildlife, marine life, and the images. If we could show them to you, I don't know if our producers can pop them up right now, but really you have been face to face, like centimeters away from giant animals. I mean, describe some of that. What have you seen that really stand out to you the most?
Yeah, it's such a great point, Netta. I sometimes think of my career as just a long string of extraordinary encounters with wildlife. One of the interesting things, of course, about underwater photography is that we that work in the ocean don't have the luxury of using telephoto lenses. We have to get very close to our subject. So I can't sit in a camouflage blind in a jungle with a 600 millimeter lens and wait for some elusive animal to wander past. I have to get very close. So it's really up to the animal. I can't swim fast enough to chase a dolphin or a whale or a shark if they don't want me near them. So it really is extraordinary that these animals allow us into their world, and I can get close and have these moments where I can capture it on film and then tell stories. And unfortunately, many of those stories these days are about environmental issues. But my presentation that I'll be doing in San Diego is about the celebration of the ocean, but it's also about solutions to these environmental issues.
I'm glad to hear that you're providing hope, because obviously that's what we all want to hear, that there is a chance that we can obviously save, protect these animals. Brian, I want to tell you, my husband and I both love to scuba dive. Our honeymoon, we went to Fiji to dive the whole time. We saw, rays and sharks and all of these incredible animals, and it felt almost meditative. How do you describe it when you're down there and you're right there by a giant whale or a shark comes cruising by? How do you describe that feeling?
It really, I think you nailed it. It is meditative. It's otherworldly. We live on an ocean planet, even though we live on land and see the planet sometimes from a terrestrial centric viewpoint. We very much live on a water planet. And there is something very special about being in the presence of particularly large animals in the ocean, a whale or a dolphin or even a sea turtle. There's almost this sort of nonverbal communication, I think, that occurs. I recently filmed a 4-part series for Disney Plus about whales and about whale culture. And, it was extraordinary to be with humpbacks or sperm whales, orca, beluga whales, and be allowed into their families, see their parenting techniques, see how they react to us. It's almost hard to put into words, but that's why the visuals, I think, are so powerful.
Yeah, your images, I cannot believe, I'm getting the chills just picture after picture that we're seeing. And, it's not just the big animals that we all know and love, but the teeny tiny ones. You got some really good, crisp, clear images. How do you do that?
Well, I don't show you the bad ones.
Okay.
But, I think the reality is that if you spend enough time, and it's really about time. The ocean is a difficult place to work. It's an alien environment. We need life support equipment to operate there. But if you do a lot of research, you work with good scientists, you can narrow the odds and get into those places where you can do that. And the point you made about tiny creatures, every animal, every organism on this planet plays a vital role. It's like a finely made watch, where every gear, the big gears and the small gears, all work together, and we get this magnificence that we call the natural world. So being a storyteller, for me, it's important to show the big charismatic animals, but also the little ones that play vital roles as well.
And in your time doing this incredible work, 25 years, National Geographic, you said, have you seen our oceans change? I mean, are you noticing the effects of our climate?
Yeah, absolutely, Netta. I could have never predicted when I began diving decades ago that I would see what I would call geologic change in my own lifetime. In pretty much my career, we have removed 90% of the big fish in the ocean through commercial industrialized overfishing. We kill more than 100 million sharks every year. We dump 18 billion pounds of plastic into the ocean every year, and we've lost half the world's coral reefs. So I absolutely see this. I think any diver who's been out there, even for a few years, would have a similar story. But the message is, we know now what to do. We know how to solve these problems, and we just need a collective will to move toward those solutions. So I think, good science and good visual storytelling is the way to help folks get that momentum to do the right thing.
Brian Skerry, we appreciate your work so much. Thank you for joining us this morning. He will be at the Conrad in La Jolla Thursday, March 31st at 7 p.m. put on by the La Jolla Music Society. Thank you so much, Brian, for joining us today.
Thank you.